Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Tuesday Night Live. Thank you so much for joining tonight. I'm testing out a new technology tonight. Tonight we are multi-streaming on YouTube and Twitch, which no one knows about because I just created this channel on Twitch. But I'm going to start doing that and possibly even maybe some other platforms. So to test tonight, make sure it all works because I have some, I think, fun things planned for the future that might have to do with multi-streaming. So drop in the chat as always where you're watching from, and we will be right back. I'm going to roll the intro video, let a few more people join us, and I'll be back. All right, Motivation Theory Running is in the house. How's it going? Nathaniel Joseph, I have JFK 50 this Saturday. This will be my third time doing it. It's a great race. That's awesome. I've heard a lot of really good things about that race that I should go check it out someday. Joel Walters is here. What's up? Hey, Joseph Schroeder's here. Good luck. I assume to Nathan. Justin's here. What's up? Hello, everyone from Tulsa, Oklahoma. How's it going? Nathan, all the best, mate. Christy Wiley's here. Hello. What's up? Alex is here. What's up, fam? Tuning in from Beckley, West Virginia. Eduardo Sanchez is here. Happy Tuesday from San Diego. Good to see everyone. Motivation Theory Running's from Virginia. Nice. Stephen McNeil's here, Midland, Texas, in the house. What's up? Sarah Oden's here. Good evening, everyone. Finished my first 50 miler this weekend at the Valley of Fire State Park in Nevada. It was rough and temps hit 95, but had a blast and can't wait for the next one. That's awesome. Congrats. I know that we talked about, well, you mentioned, I think last week, that you were doing your first 50 miler, which is so cool that you were able to go out and do that. So that's awesome. Congrats, Sarah. Joseph says, planning my first 50-mile attempt. That's awesome. 50 miles, like, that's a big deal, like, for the first time you ever do it. I mean, it's a big deal no matter when you run it, but I remember the first time I ran 50 miles, it was just like crazy. Like, thinking, like, because I had done a marathon previously during an Ironman, and I just remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, this 50 miles, this is double the distance. Like, what in the world am I getting myself into? I did it because of some YouTube videos I was watching at the time and just signed up for an ultra. Actually, the first ultra I've ever did was the Jackson County 50 miler, and that's coming up in like 2 weeks here. I'm not doing it again, but the race is coming around again, which is gonna be cool. One of my good friends is running it. Actually, probably more than just one, but one that I know of for sure, and he's gonna do awesome. Sean Robertson is here. Evening, Ryan. Everybody, what's up? Neil Ames is here from Sydney, Australia. Been following your videos from afar for a few years. Keep it up. That's awesome. Sydney, Australia. That's so cool. I would absolutely love to travel there someday. Maybe. I don't know how long the flight would be. Like, maybe like 20 hours, 24 hours, something like that. David Jobs is here from Northern Virginia. Virginia is where I did my first 100 miler, the Grindstone 100. And that was a doozy, let me tell you. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Didn't know what I was getting into, but had a good time at it. And yeah, there's a video on the channel. And And that was like my first attempt at trying to film 100 miles. And that was just like, that was so rough. First of all, the race itself was crazy, but trying for the first time to carry a camera for 100 miles as well, I actually gave up on the camera 50 miles into it. I just gave it to my crew and I was like, I am done with this. Like I can't carry it anymore. It's like hurting my arm to hold this GoPro. And yeah, I mean, it made for a whatever. I mean, at the time, like the video, I thought it was cool. But it kind of just like, it's going, and then just like stops at 50 miles. And then I like jump in at the end. I'm like, hey, I didn't film anything after this. So it's kind of like embarrassing to go watch now. But not embarrassing. It's just like, I feel like I could have just kept it in my pack and like probably pulled it out a few more times. Plus I was picking up a pacer at that point. So I could have just like given it to my pacer and been like, here. But also at the time it was like, still kind of like embarrassed from holding a camera and everything. So there was a lot going on there, but, Nathan's here, just getting up to 50 miles a week. Someday it will all happen at once. That's awesome. 50 miles a week is not like something to, I mean, that's awesome. Like that's pretty high volume, especially for, like someone like myself who like has a full-time job, like running and family, like running 50 miles a week is, that's a big commitment, and that's good. Like, I think, you know, if you want to, in my opinion, like I think getting up to about 50 miles a week is a good place to kind of like, you don't have to do any certain amount of volume, I don't believe, to be able to pull off finishing an ultra. Just from my coaching and my own experience, I've just seen so many people able to complete ultras with very low volume in training. Not that it would be recommended, but even myself, I finished a 100-miler with coming off of 3 months of sitting on the couch, and then it was right about 2 weeks before a 100-miler that I was signed up for. The doctor cleared me to run, and so I did about 3 or 4 runs of like 3 or 4 miles each, and then drove to Michigan and ran 100 miles. So you can, I mean, I think 50 miles is a really good spot to get at. Like if you can pull off like running 50 miles a week for a while, like you're definitely ready for an ultra, definitely ready for a 50-miler, to just finish. Lewis Hayden's here. What's up, everyone from Michigan? Nice. Just mentioned Michigan, as that was the first place. That was the 100-miler. I did a 100-miler up there. Hallucination 100. Miguel says, love the shirt. Thanks, man. This is a fellow YouTuber, Kafuzi. He was actually, like, I actually interviewed him on this channel a while ago. He was on, he was on one of my live shows. And then he interviewed me on his channel too. I was getting him confused because when he had me on his channel, it was in the afternoon, and mine was the regular time. But anyway, Justin says, do you ever deal with hip tightness post long run? Yeah, definitely. Especially if I go and like sit down for a while right after, like if I have to get to work real quick or something, and I'm just going to be sitting down for a while. Like, yeah, the hips can tighten up. I've been dealing with something that I need to just work out. Hopefully it will work itself out over time, but, I have like my left hip is just, kind of got some, I wouldn't call it an injury. I would call it just like some soreness that's just not going away. I think it's probably happened during the fall that I took at IT 100. Although that's like so long ago that whatever is happened at at that moment, like, should be pretty close to healing by now, unless this is just something that's like going to take longer or just not going to heal. But then one day, like one run, like a week and a half after the race, I just felt like this, like it just got like really, really tight, and then kind of like sore, like in certain angles that my hip was, like I could put my hip in a certain angle that should have been totally fine, but there was like a little bit of sharp pain in there. So I think maybe I like pulled something, or like maybe bruised something, aggravated my hips somehow. But it's fine. Like I can still run on it, and I have been recently. It's just a little bit of soreness, a little bit of tightness, which I hope not to carry into next year, because I am still dealing with plantar fasciitis. Like that did not go away. That's just with me. So unfortunately, I mean, I can't take much more time off before I need to start getting back into like real training. So unfortunately, it seems like this plantar fasciitis, I'm going to be dealing with it for another year probably. But yeah, I'm trying a few more like slightly aggressive tactics to like take a look at like seeing if I can actually get rid of it. One of them being percussive massage. More often, like in the past, like I would go to PT or like a chiropractor or something, and they would, or not a chiropractor, but a doctor, actual foot doctor, and they would like do some percussive massage and like try to break up any scar tissue or anything that might be in there. But I think I might take matters into my own hands and start doing that more often, because that seemed to be like the go-to that they would always try. So I don't know. It's like, I don't know what more damage could I do to it? I would love to be rid of plantar fasciitis. Yeah. Nathan says we have some great races in Australia. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh. Like if some company or something would pay for me to go down there, like, no questions asked, I'd be there. David Job's Grindstone is a crazy race. Yes, it is. I really liked it a lot though. Like it's got a special place in my heart, being my first 100 miler, and being like just one of those that like, like when people talk about Grindstone, like they always talk about how hard it was. So that kind of like feels good to finish a race like that. One of my good friends, Russell, just finished the Grindstone 100 this past year. Mango Runners here. What's up? Ryan from upstate South Carolina. Was able to complete my third 100 miler of the year 10 days ago. That's awesome. Now I'm just going to rest. Yeah, man. So cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I wish I could find, I don't know. Like, I think I could, if I changed around some of my commitments in my life as far as mainly work related. But if I changed around some of that stuff, I would probably be able to run a couple hundreds a year. But at this point, it feels like maybe 2 is kind of the max for me, unless I don't travel anywhere during the summer. Like, cause the last couple of years, I've done a big trip out to Western states. So if I don't go anywhere over the summer, like maybe I could squeeze in another one during the summer. But I feel like I'm kind of like, I really liked how this last year went with having the Cruel Jewel in the spring and then having the IT 100 in the fall. I really liked how that felt. 2021 went really well as far as training goes. Probably my best year ever of training. And a lot of it has to do with getting the treadmill day before Christmas, day before Christmas Eve, we got the treadmill. And that was major. Like I was able to run a lot during the winter. I definitely would not have come into the spring in as good a shape as I was had I not had that treadmill, because just my track record over the winters was just, it's not great. Like I don't really enjoy running in the cold. Mainly it has to do with the wind, honestly. Like the snow and ice is one thing that you have to be concerned about. But like if there was never any wind, I think I would be more okay, because, the wind here in the Midwest is just, I'm sure it's bad everywhere, but it just feels like it's just super painful. But anyway, like I was saying, like last year was like the best year of my training I've probably ever had. And it was really nice splitting it up into 2 sections, like having training for Cruel Jewel, which was one specific type of training. And then just a couple weeks later, turning around and going out to Western States. And then after Western States, really turning my focus to more of like a flat 100 and training for the IT 100. I just felt like that worked out really, really well for me. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking. I'm going to wait until both the lotteries happen on December 4th, which I believe I'm going to try to live stream as much as I can. If I can't live stream during the whole thing, I'm going to try and jump on as much as I can. I don't know how long it goes. I need to check into that. If it's only like a 1 or 2 hour lottery, like I'll just live stream during the whole thing. But if it's like, I don't know if it's like 6 hours or something, like I'll probably have to take a break. But I am planning on, doing that during, Western States and Hard Rock, cause I think they're happening like simultaneously. So I'm waiting until those 2 lotteries, and then I'm going to really focus on like picking my races for next year. And I've got like, I don't know, I have a lot of races that I want to do. I have a database in Notion that I just keep track of all the races that interest me. And they're organized by month, by region, by are they a qualifier or not. So, I just kind of love, just like right here around this time, end of November, beginning of December, I always just like start going through that database and just kind of like thinking about what races I want to do next year. Sean Robertson says, Garmin definitely has a Phoenix 7 in production. In my opinion, sales like this pre-Black Friday make me think it'll be released in either January or February. That would be insane if the Phoenix 7 was released then. I don't know. Like, I don't have any info. I don't know. I feel like Garmin always does Black Friday and Christmas sales that are always like pretty big. But I feel like this year it feels like it's more watches. Cause like the Phoenix 6s are on sale. The like 45s are on sale. The 745s are on sale. I forget which else. There's like 4 or 5 of their like running watches are on sale. And some of them are on pretty big sale. I thought about getting another one. I thought about getting the Phoenix 6, just to feel like I had a good comparison to the Enduro, but then I didn't pull the trigger because, I'm saving for something else. I'm saving for a different camera. Those Garmin sales were awesome. I'd be really interested to see what the Phoenix 7 looks like. I would love it if we got any extra features, that'd be awesome. My biggest hope for the next couple of years with GPS watches is that these companies start taking their most insane technology and putting it into smaller form factor watches. Because I think number one, anybody with smaller wrists, could be a guy or a girl, doesn't matter. But anybody with smaller wrists, these like the Phoenix 6, the Coros Vertex 2, even the Enduro, to some point, like it's just not going to work. Like you're just not going to enjoy wearing the watch. Like for me, the Vertex 2 was right on the edge there of being comfortable or not. And the longest I wore it was for about like I mean, I wore it for like just as a daily watch, for like off and on for 2 weeks. But the longest, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could run with it for like 24 hours or anything like that. So they got to start getting these watches smaller. In my opinion, that's my biggest hope, is that they start going more towards form factors of like a Polar Vantage, or something just a little bit smaller, like even like a Garmin like 945 or something like that. I just think if we keep going bigger and bigger and bulkier, it's not gonna be good for those of us that want these crazy like ultra endurance watches. Yeah, but we'll see. I don't know. January or February seems like a weird time to release a watch. Could be. I would guess if it did release, maybe like early spring or something. Joseph says, would you recommend the Indiana Trail 50 for a first? Yeah, I would, definitely. It's set up. It's awesome. Like, they're also, interestingly enough, news about this race is that they're getting rid of the 100K distance, which is really crazy. And they're changing it to a 75-mile distance, which is like, part of me is like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, that's kind of, I don't know if that's going to reduce the draw or increase. It's going to make the logistics way easier, because the reason why they're doing this is that it's a 25-mile loop, and the 100K race had to go off and do their own sort of version of a loop and kind of cut short. And I guess it's always just caused some slight confusion, because you got volunteers that are kind of like telling people where to go in certain spots. But then you also just have like, you don't know exactly where all these runners are, and it's harder to race when you're in that type of situation. When your volunteers like really don't know what's going on with like, who are you? Why are you here? So they're getting rid of the 100K option, and they're making it a 75-mile option, which means that the races are just going to be 50, 75, and 100. So 2 loops, 3 loops, 4 loops, which I think is going to be really interesting. And I'd be really, and then that way also everyone can start together. They don't have to have anybody starting, because this past year, the 100K started 5 minutes ahead of the rest of the runners doing the 50 and the 100. And that was just like, I guess for timing, I guess for everything, it was just kind of weird, but we'll see how that goes. But your question was, would you recommend the 50 for a first? And I would say yes, absolutely, because it's a great race. As long as it's the only thing that you have to deal with at that park is when it rains, it just gets sloppy because of the natural area that it's in. The race weaves in and out of a bunch of lakes. There's like 16 lakes or something like that at this park, and you're just kind of like weaving in and out around them and everything. And so just like because of that, the trails don't drain very well because there's already like water everywhere. And so, yeah, if it rains, like the trails can get like pretty muddy, but if it doesn't rain, it's an amazing course. The 2 times I went out there, prior to the race to train, absolutely loved it. Like, I mean, and I've ran there a bunch, but just in dry conditions, that course is awesome. If you want like typical like Indiana trails. Joel says, anyone done Siskiyou Outback race? I've heard it's almost half the people DNF. Sounds hard. I've never heard of that race. Nathan says, what's the furthest you've ever traveled for a race? I guess the answer to that would be, for a race of my own, Colorado, which we flew to. That was for Run Rabbit Run. But I have been out to like spectate and crew at Western States. No, not spectate. I've never spectated. I was filming, working one year, and then the next year I was crewing and pacing. Lewis says Western States lottery isn't that long, maybe a couple hours, or at least normally it's not that long. Yeah, we'll see. There's some interesting, so about that, I want to see if there's any like burning comments. What's up? Matt LeGrand is in the house. I think the Enduro you like is also 100. Yeah, the Enduro looked like it was $100 off too. Yep. Matt says, what are you talking about watch size? My 6-year-old loves the Vertex too. Yeah. Can he wear it? Bradley says, what watch did you use on your last 100? For both Cruel Jewel and Indiana Trail 100, I used the Enduro. Neil says, spot on the wrist comment. I have small wrists and I won't wear big chunky watches. Yeah, that was the other thing that I had like a lot to say about the Vertex, but I wanted to keep that video kind of short, and I will say more in I'm going to do a Garmin Enduro versus the Vertex 2. And but one thing, yeah, like just the bigness of the watch, bigness, that's a word now. And having the digital crown on the side, like I found like every time I was stretching, like on the ground and doing like foam rolling and stuff, it would always start activities just because where it was on my, even like if I put it higher up on my wrist, it would still slide down. So yeah, I have a lot to say about all those watches, the Enduro and the Vertex 2. I think the Vertex 2 has so many great things about it too. Justin says, Leadville Lottery, you know you want to. Yes, I do. Man, that would be a good one to get into also. Cause I love Leadville. I was able to go out there, had the, opportunity to pace at Leadville, and my gosh, that race is amazing. So I don't know how long the lottery goes, but maybe I'll think about it. Cause that would be awesome. That would mean training for another big mountain race, which would be fine. It'd just be interesting. Yeah, that's where the next couple weeks I need to like really think about what I want my next year to look like. Like, do I want to be training for a mountain race for 6 months? Do I want to, since this isn't a Cruel Jewel, no, I keep saying that, since this isn't a Hard Rock qualifier year for me, since I don't need one, do I focus on, some more of the Midwest races that I like maybe missed? I would really love to go back to Mohican. I would love to do Burning River. I heard Burning River is way different this year because of the route change. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Miguel says that's really interesting that it'll be 75 miles now. Food for thought. Yeah, and that's not like, that's considerably longer than 100K. So they're really changing it up. It's cool. Like I like what I think Aravaipa is the one that I noticed the most that has kind of like atypical race distances. Like they've got some races that are like, I don't know, like maybe they make sense in metric, but like a 42-mile race or like a 29-mile race or stuff. They just have these like interesting options at some of their races that you can do, and I always thought that was cool. I love jogging, says, and I love your name, by the way. I love jogging is an awesome screen name. Hi, I ran my first timed event in 24 event that started at 6 p.m. Friday night. Got second place female and 9th overall. That's awesome. Not fast, but just had to outlast some of the other runners. That is really cool. Congratulations. That's really awesome. I would be really interested. Someday I'll try a race like that. Just like a timed race, just like that. Like across the years, looks amazing. And that's coming up. at the end of the year. But something like that would be really cool to do. Mike David says, my Garmin 235 always starts activities and nowhere that size. Garmin problem. Yeah, I never have that problem with my Garmin, and it has mostly to do with the button placement. Like any Garmin I've ever had, any Polar, any like Wahoo, TicWatch, like any of the other watches, Suunto, any of those I've ever had, their buttons are just placed differently. None of them ever have a button like right in the middle that like pointing straight towards my wrist if I wear it on my left hand, except for the Vertex. It's the only one. And it's the biggest button too. Mango Runner says, I agree. 200 milers a year is good. One in the spring and one in the fall gives you a good amount of time to train for both. Yeah. I think the more experience I get at them, I think it would be easier to stack 3 or 4, because you'll just get better. Like there will be a lot less stress going into them because the packing and the planning will be down. So you'll be going into it with less stress. And then hopefully, like if you're more trained, like year after year, you keep building and building and building. And the races themselves will actually start to affect your body differently. You'll be able to bounce back quicker. Yeah, we'll see. And also, sometime I do want to attempt the Midwest Super Slam. Yeah, a couple years ago, I was trying to attempt it, and I can't even really claim that I attempted it. I just signed up for half of them. But yeah, I would love to try that again, because that is the sort of thing where you do need to train leading up to it. And it's almost similar in a way to people that have a season like cross country, like where you have big races every week or every couple weeks, but only for 100 milers. So it's sort of similar in that way, because you kind of have to train into it, but you don't want to like hit your peak on the first race. You also don't want to have a bad race. And then a couple weeks later, you do another 100, a couple weeks later, and you do 5 of them within the course of like 3 months. Which, man, yeah, that would be so awesome. But there's so many things in my life that I'd have to change before I could do that, like work related. Yeah, I couldn't do that right now. Replay SRE, new Spider-Man trail is hype. Oh, let's talk movies. That's awesome. I have, unless it just came out like in the last couple of days, maybe probably haven't seen one. I probably haven't seen the newest one, but yeah. Yeah. That looks like a good movie. I know you guys, I've talked the last couple weeks about how Dune is amazing. So if it's still in theaters around you, which it should be, go check it out. Also, this is the last week for it to be on HBO Max, which you shouldn't watch it for the first time on your home TV or laptop or anything. You should see it in a theater. But if you can't, definitely check it out. I'm also really excited for the new Matrix movie that comes out in December. Seen the trailer for that a few times. Saw the trailer in IMAX, which I'm definitely going to go see that movie in IMAX if I can. Yeah, Christmas time is going to be crazy with work, with church and everything, just because we've got so many services for Christmas Eve and so many rehearsals and so much planning and setup and everything. And the last couple weeks before Christmas, if you work for a church, you know what I'm talking about. It just gets absolutely crazy. And then The Matrix comes out on December 22nd or something like that. So it'll be after Christmas that I'll be seeing it if I can. Neil says you guys need to let your miles go. Life's a lot simpler when all you have is kilometers. I've heard that before. I have heard that. But, you know, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I just grew up with miles. Everything is miles to me. every single run I ever do, I'm thinking about miles. If at one point the United States went to metric, first of all, I don't think that will ever happen because, yeah, I just don't think that'll ever happen. But I would have a really hard time learning how to function differently, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't have anything against it. It's just when you have this measurement system in your head and everything goes through it, like getting in the car, how many miles is this going to be? Like going for a run, like thinking about like how far away another city is or something like that. And your whole life is, you've been based in imperial miles and everything. Going to metric would be crazy. Justin says, buckle cam, please. Here we go. Awesome. Thanks for requesting it. Actually, I usually have another light over there. Actually, today it looks fine. Like, I think you guys can all see it. It's not too it's not too dark, but I usually have another light up there, but it just broke. So that's kind of sad. Just like a little tiny like LED light. Got off Amazon for probably like $15 or something. But yeah, it just stopped working. I went to go turn it on and it didn't work. When you train, Mango Runner says, when you train for a mountain race during elevation training, have you had issues with I don't know what that is. Sky. Let me just Google it. Okay, it says pain affecting the back, hip, and outside of the leg. It just says it's pronounced sciatica. Sciatica? I don't know. I can't even say it. I can't even read the definition on dictionary.com, like how to read it, the pronunciation. It's caused by the compression of spinal nerve root in the lower back, often owing to degeneration of invertebral discs. So basically pain affecting the back, hip, and outside of the leg caused by compression of the spinal nerve root in the back. No, I can't say that I have ever had that. A bunch of people trying to... sciatica. Okay. That's what it's called. No, I've never had that. Sounds like it's painful though. And I assume you mean it comes from like training uphill and downhill, probably mostly downhill, because with compression down in the back, the lower back. So, no, I mean, sorry, like if that's something that you're dealing with on a regular basis, like that sounds like it's painful. Nathan says, ever thought about Bandera 100K as a Western States qualifier? It's in January, not a lot else going on around that time of the year. Yeah, I actually have thought about that. I've looked into that and Black Canyon because they're both qualifiers. And I would love to. I just don't. I always like around this time of the year, I'm always like, I'm not really ready to like jump back into training yet and thinking about like doing like heavy training over the next like 6 to 8 weeks or something. It's not kind of like my body is kind of like going into more of a not rest mode, but just like I need to give myself another couple weeks or so before I can get into some sort of like heavy training. So looking at those races in like January and February, it never really feels like a good time around this time, if you know what I mean. But man, if I could go, I would love to do some races out west. Chris Rhodes says, hey Ryan, I work for a church. Awesome. Totally get the Christmas. Yeah. It gets crazy. It gets absolutely crazy. Also, my first solo 50 miler this Friday. You inspired that. Have an awesome night. That's awesome. Everybody, wish Chris a good luck. This Friday is solo 50 miler. Sounds awesome. I'll do another one of those one day. Justin says, "Now I'm good. Thank you." Yeah. Sciatica. Thank you, everyone. More of a sigh than a C. Attica. Sciatica. Awesome. You'll feel it. I Love Jogging says, you'll feel it in your glutes and down your hamstrings. Yeah, can't say that I ever have. I've dealt with a lot of other types of overuse injuries. I'm guessing that's an overuse injury. Maybe it's like something that happens from a fall. Yeah, like I said, plantar fasciitis. I've gone through IT band syndrome. It's whatever's going on with my hip right now. Sean Robertson says, got a lacrosse ball recently to use before warm-ups for both feet for my legs and glutes. Game changer. Yeah, I totally agree. I have a lacrosse ball, and then I have this thing called the Peanut, which is like 2 lacrosse balls kind of that are connected, and that you can get some extra angles as well. But yeah, my biggest thing that I like right now for recovery or loosening up before a run or something is it's called the Hyperice Viper 2.0. I'm staring at it. It's right over here. But it's a vibrating foam roller. And oh my gosh, like this thing has been it's been awesome. But normally when I kind of start warming up, I will do as I'm kind of like just getting ready, I'll throw a lacrosse ball or the Peanut on the ground, and I will roll out the bottoms of my feet, kind of go sideways too, and then I'll grab the Viper, the Hyperice Viper vibrating foam roller, and I will kind of like roll out my legs, and then I'll do like a few lunges and like side steps and stuff to kind of like just get the flexibility going. And then I'll go out for a run or go out on my treadmill, watch Netflix. Speaking of Netflix and also movies, I started watching Red Notice today, and I only made it like halfway through. Anybody in the chat that's seen it, let me know if it's any good. Let me know if I should keep watching it, because even on the treadmill, when I can watch almost anything, I was having a hard time keeping it going because it was just like so bad. And I feel like that movie, that Netflix probably spent tons of money on that movie. I haven't looked it up, but to have like 3 actors like that, yeah, I don't know. But if anybody's seen it, let me know if it's any good. Keep watching it. Otherwise, I'll probably just go back to my like true crime documentary series that Netflix just keeps shoving at me. Neil says, as you get older, like I am 57, your running is based on managing injuries and not avoiding injuries. Develop your strategies for managing, because part of getting old and still running. Nice. Good advice. It's more about managing than preventing. Justin just says, did you see Solomon just released long shorts Courtney DeWalter style? No, I haven't seen that. That's cool. I did want to, I haven't given any like member shout outs, recently, but just recently, where's the thing? We did have 2 new members to the channel. So Mark Kirkland and Alex Williams, thank you so much for becoming members of the channel. That just helps me, do all the things that I'm doing here on YouTube. And then also wanted to just kind of run through a couple. So there's been some interesting stuff going on with the Western States Lottery. I wanted to talk to you guys about it. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. We've had some, there it is. So the 2022 Western States Lottery. If you want to look into it, there's 6,000 entrants right now, which is with only like 5 days to go with the lottery. And that's way lower than typical. The last couple years. So last year we had 6,600 entrants in the lottery. And then the year before that, 5,800. Year before that, 49. So almost every year for the past 3 years, it's jumped up over 1,000 people, or almost right around 1,000 people. And then 500, 600 the years before that. But there's never been since 2002, and I tweeted about this just before the show, since 2002 was the last time that the number of applicants actually dropped from the prior year. And I was wondering what you guys were thinking about that. I think, like, I have an opinion. And if we go over here, what's also interesting, I have an opinion about this. So we can also see that with last year, there was 27.8 thousand tickets. This year, there's already almost 30,000 tickets. So a lot less applicants, a lot more tickets. That means it's skewed towards the people with like higher tickets. Like, so people are staying in the lottery longer. Because you can even see just from the 18 entrants that have 128 tickets. That's crazy. So 2,300 tickets are coming from those 18 people that just like leveled up this year. So that's going to keep going. So the ticket count is going to continue to get higher. What I said when Western States mentioned this change in their lottery system to where you don't have to apply every year, I called it then that this would mean that they're doing this based off of data that they have seen, which I believe shows that they're going to have less people applying every year, at least for a couple years, until it starts going up again, because not everyone has to apply every year anymore. And so by doing this, by allowing you to hold on to your ticket count and not apply, we're going to see less applicants. And we've only 5 days left to join the lottery. We still need another 700 applicants to pass what we had last year. And so we're way behind the trajectory that it has been on for the past 4 years. So really interesting stuff. I'd be interested to see what you guys thought about it. Might talk about it in a video later, or definitely while we're streaming. As long as another 1,500 or 2,000 people don't apply in the next 5 days, which I don't think is going to happen. I think most people that have applied, that are going to apply, already have. But yeah, I just think at least for a couple years, we're going to see a little bit of a relief from this growing pool. Yeah. Oh, Josh says, Red Notice is good. Can't go wrong with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, I agree. I like Ryan Reynolds a lot. There's no chemistry between him and The Rock in the first half. Yeah, Lewis says, yeah, pressure's off to have to maintain your consecutive years in order to keep what you've built up. 100%. That's exactly what it is, in my opinion. And we'll see. But what this means is maybe, there's a good portion, and possibly 1 out of every 6 people, maybe, as it's looking right now, that are in the lottery were applying, even though they didn't have any plans to run the race or didn't want to run the race this next year. So they didn't even run a qualifier. Maybe they didn't, who knows? Maybe they didn't run a qualifier, but maybe they did and they're just still not applying. I don't know why you'd really do that, but because because you'd want to get those points for this past year. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a good trend over the next couple of years, but then 2 or 3 years from now, it's going to catch up with itself and we're going to start rising again. Yeah, Justin says, I totally agree with that, and with COVID restrictions still in the air for overseas applicants. That's true. I don't know, certain countries, certain regions, there's definitely a much less. So I would say the Western states qualifiers in the United States are really dense. They're everywhere. You can get a qualifier in every single state, I believe. And a lot of states have tons of them. Like California, like tons of qualifiers. Indiana has one. Like there's 5 or 6 that I can drive to in less than 4 hours. And I live in Indiana. So United States qualifiers are everywhere. And most of them, I think, ran last year. Overseas, though, I don't know, because, there's probably a lot of countries that don't have a qualifier. And most countries probably only have 1, maybe 2 at most. So, that's an interesting point about overseas applicants. I wonder if there's a breakdown. Not yet. They will do all that stuff. There's a page on the Western States homepage that's like Stats for Geeks is what it's called, literally. And there's tons of information. I'm sure that's probably on there. Josh Keck says, I'm starting my training for a March 47-hour endurance challenge run. Josh, I also wanted to say, I wanted to mention that I almost listened to the whole podcast of you on Adventure Jogger. That's what it's called. I almost said Adventure Runner. Good podcast, man. But your question was, curious if you had any interest in 24 or 48 hour race formats. There are not too many videos of people doing those kind of events. Yeah. I always kind of like think about it. Maybe next year's the year. It would just be, so my biggest problem is schedule wise. Since most races are held on Saturdays, if I want to do a 50 miler or something and it's not that much travel, it's not a big deal. But since I work every single Sunday, pretty much, like I can afford to take a couple off a year. And that's when you see me like doing races, like traveling to races, but I can't just take a ton of time off on Sundays. And so like having races on Saturday is really like not ideal for me. It'd be best if they were on Friday or Thursday. But I know, we can't win. So most races, work best for most people on Saturdays. So like a 24 or 48 hour, I would love to just like jump into one of those and just see how much I could do. But yeah, it's just scheduling thing. But if I didn't have, like, if YouTube was my job, then yeah, definitely I'd be all over, doing like a race like that, at least like once a year or something. Because I think, like if you did a backyard race, which was 4.18 miles per hour, you come out to be 100 miles after 24 hours. But you don't have to do a race like that. Like you could just do a 24-hour race format and you could take a couple hour break in the middle or something. You could do whatever you want. So I think that would be really awesome. Lewis says, I have to admit, I didn't care about finishing Indiana based on not having to do it in order to keep my streak for Western States. Yeah, good point. And they says, I did last minute decide to jump into Javelina 100 in order to stay in. Got it done. Got in the lottery. Awesome. Yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from because it's hard enough to finish 100 milers and ultras in general, when you are motivated. But when you're not motivated, or not saying you weren't motivated, but like when you have an out like that, it's easy to take. Best runners in the world can do it, so don't feel bad about that. But yeah, definitely if you needed that, like if Western States still had the rules that they had before, and by not finishing the Indiana Trail 100, you were going to break your streak and have to start all over applying for Western States, I bet you would have like walked the rest of it if you had to. That would have been a really tough call for me had I not finished or not done Cruel Jewel. Say Indiana Trail 100 was my only 100 miler of the year, and Western States was still on the streak, had to keep up your streak. I don't know. I don't think I could have finished, honestly. I probably would have, honestly, what I probably would have done was quit earlier and tried to get another race in, like in the next couple weeks, to stay in the lottery. And yeah, I probably would have traveled anywhere. But see, that's the crazy thing about the way the Western States Lottery used to be, is that you used to make crazy decisions and possibly bad decisions. Honestly, I wonder how many people have like injured themselves much worse than they needed to just to stay in the Western States 100, or, had serious health problems just to finish a race, to keep your streak going. I could definitely see that. There's probably cases out there like that. I'm really glad it's changed. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in 5 years. Like in 5 years, are we having 10,000 applicants a year? And, oh geez, it just made it worse. I don't think that will be the case. But yeah, we'll see. In Utah, all their races are on Friday. Oh, nice. Maybe I just need to go to Utah. But then you got to travel back. That's tough. Josh says, heck yeah, I'll check you out on that Mango Runner. Your Class Splitter videos were a big help for me this year. Nice. Class Splitter is one that I had a friend go out and try that once, and he said that was pretty crazy. That was the same year that I did... that was the year I did Run Rabbit Run, that my friend did Cloud Splitter. I Love Jogging says, come to Kansas. KUS 6/12/24 starts 6 p.m. on a Friday, goes to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Nice. That was awesome. That would be really cool, especially in the summer. If they had like summer races that started at 6 p.m., that would be so cool. Because that's like one of my favorite times to run during the summer, is from like 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 p.m. or something like that. I love it. I don't do it anymore because of like family dinner and stuff. But sometimes when I was doing like a couple months ago, like when I would do 2-a-days, I would do the second run in the evening. I would usually start around like 7 or something. So, yeah, I love that time. Lewis says, yeah, you nailed it. Motivation, and I was not injured. I could have kept it going and didn't because I didn't need to. Yeah, it's like, that's the thing. And that's why a lot of people talk about that you have to have like a clear, you have to have a clear why as to why you are running this 100 miler. Some people don't. I've gone into races and finished them before. And my only why was that, I was just like, I just wanted to see some cool stuff, and I wanted to test myself. That's not really a strong why when you're in mile 60 in the middle of the night. It's not really a lot going for you there. I think it's much better to have like a real clear why as you're going into this race, whether it's really, really personal or whether it's something like qualifying for the Western States Lottery or the Hard Rock Lottery or something like that. I think that can really give you an extra, a higher percentage of finishing if you have something clear like that. But again, like I've walked into a race so a couple years ago, I did Kettle 100, and it was too early in my training cycle because I kind of timed that out in a way that I thought was going to work. But I realized kind of going into it that I had messed up my nutrition training. And so in the middle of that race, my nutrition just went to crap. My fitness was not where I wanted it to be for a 100-miler, but it was okay enough to finish. So those two things kind of got me down. And then the other thing was that my only motivation for this race was that it was like the first one out of 5 that I was going to do in 3 months. And in the middle of the race, like that, just like those 3 things combined just really took their toll. And I couldn't even get myself to run really, like around mile like 40 and 50. Made it like 62 miles in that race. And it was just like, yeah, it was just tough because I had convinced myself it was like a circle. What do they call it? Like I forget what it's called, but like where you think something and then that thing becomes true, and then you think something and that thing becomes true. Like I just kept going in these cycles. Like I was like, my nutrition's not working. I can't run. Well, if I can't run, like I can't finish, and my nutrition's not working, and it's just like, it's just crazy. So the mental side of it is huge. I don't think enough people talked about that, or do talk about that. Ben Rogers says, stumbled across your channel recently. Awesome. Thank you. Getting motivation to train again. That's awesome, dude. Looking at running my first ever trail event, the Wonderland Run, at the Grampians at Victoria, Australia. That is cool. Only doing the 20K for now, just easing my way into it. Perfect. That's awesome. Especially like, definitely like just ease your way into it. Like you don't have to go out and run the 50-miler or the 100-miler or anything like that. Like just ease your way into it, and you'll be happy you did later, because you'll be able to have some longevity in this sport, I think. And you also might not have as much discouragement up front, because like I've seen people bite off way more than they can chew way earlier than they should. And they get really discouraged and they think, well, maybe ultra isn't for me, and maybe stop running or something like that. I've seen that happen a lot. So I think easing your way into it. I love jogging. Self-actualization. There we go. Thank you. That's exactly. Oh, and Chris says self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe that was right too. I think they're both right. That's exactly what I was thinking. But yeah, ease your way into it. That'll be beneficial. Sean Robertson says, looking to try gels other than goo. Good first spring energy to try. The Canterbury. That's a good one. Also, I like the Power Rush. Recently, I've been trying anything and everything that I could get my hands on gel-wise. And what really ended up working for me is, unfortunately, the most expensive brand out there, but Martin, however you say it. They are just ridiculously expensive, but they work really well for me. And I've heard a lot of people that try them and just absolutely love them. So that's what I use now, and I'll keep using those until I find reason not to. Probably when I run out of money. Yeah. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up here. We have been going for about an hour. So thank you everyone that joined. If you rather listen to podcasts, this will be on the podcast tomorrow morning. Like if you're catching it late and you want to download something that's just audio for your run or anything tomorrow or over the next week, go check out the podcast. Also, we've been streaming on Twitch, and I think there's been a couple people watching as far as the stats go, so that's awesome. Welcome everyone that's on Twitch. And I'll probably be streaming in a couple other places as we go. I'm just making sure that this new software and everything I have is working right. So thank you to everyone for joining tonight on YouTube as well, for asking your questions in the live chat. It's been awesome. Let's see, a couple other people here. Brian Steinberg runs 2 minutes. Just joining now. Should I watch the replay later? Yes, absolutely. Watch the replay later. Or just let it play on another tab in your browser. Listen to the podcast maybe. Yeah, Sean says, I was looking at those Mortons too expensive for my college budget. Definitely. I definitely would not be able to afford them in college. Justin says, never second, new company. Works great. I tried those as well. Lou, yep, Brian, good chat. Luzman too says, same, Morton Joes were a game changer for me, but yeah, money. Yep. Steve McNeil says, run safe, everyone. Thank you all for joining. This was another good one. Had a lot of good chat, a lot of good discussion topics. We were able to dive into the Western states stats. So only a couple more days to apply for Western states. Get in that lottery, everyone. Or not. Take a year off. But yeah, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see y'all again soon.